Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. So this is of a patient who attended with bilateral, fully occluding, very dry, crusted earwax and dead skin, keratin. And we're just commencing here in the patient's right ear, and I'm just using a zonal suction probe. Now the patient is a hearing aid wearer, and that is one of the contributing factors of their impaction. So prior to the patient wearing a hearing aid, you very seldom have to have his earwax removed. Now, that it still had to have it removed, but since being prescribed a hearing aid, the regularity, the frequency of having to have their ears cleaned has increased. And very likely that's just due to because when you wear a hearing aid, it can inadvertently push wax and dead skin further in the ear, and it can stop the natural migration of dead skin. And the telltale symptoms of the patient's wax impaction is when their hearing aid starts to whistle. So hearing aids, they amplify sounds into the ear, and if that sound that's amplified into the ear in some way escapes back out of the ear, it can re-enter the hearing aid microphone and get re-amplified into the ear, and then that re-amplified sound once again can escape out of the ear, enter the hearing aid microphone for the third time, and then get re-amplified into the ear again, and you get this continuous loop, this what we call a feedback loop. And when you have a feedback loop, you get audible whistling, not just for the patient, but for those around the patient, and it can be very disturbing and distracting and annoying. So earwax and dead skin is probably the number one cause of acoustic feedback or whistling, because the sound hits the wax and dead skin and it can reflect back out of the ear. So this patient's hearing aids, when he arrived, they were whistling. I could hear it from the reception room actually, when the patient was sat in the reception room waiting for me to call him in. And because it's really, really dry, I've just decided to put a bit of oil here just to lubricate it. And you can see it's enveloped by this fresher layer of dead skin. So this skin that I'm peeling off now, that was originally on the ear canal. And as that skin died and sheds, it should naturally migrate out of the ear, but in this case, this skin has failed to migrate and it's enveloped itself around this plug of skin and wax. And then the layer of skin that you can see on the ear canal now, the healthy, freshing, the non-dead skin, should I say, that will eventually too die and shed, and then that will become this outer layer of skin that I've just removed, and that cycle will continue. So you can see the ear canal's nice and healthy. I'm just going to use a fine end suction probe just to remove some of the dead keratin that's on the roof of the ear canal. We're on the just on the cartilaginous portion here, so we can put a bit of pressure there. And there is a flake of dead skin just on the eardrum. I just decided to just hover over that. If that came out easily, it's a bonus. If not, we would have left it, but it did come out, as you can see. And I'm just going to mop just near the entrance at the base of the ear canal, just here at the lower part. So you can see there's a bit of dead crusted skin here. And we're just going to hover over it with the fine end. So this is the patient's right ear complete. And I can confirm when they put the hearing aid back in, there was no more feedback. So let's just explain the mechanics of the skin and how it migrates and the function of the skin in the ear. So the ear canal and the outer membrane of the eardrum, which is made up of 3 membranes, is made up of a layer of skin. We call that skin an epithelial layer, so the outer layer of skin. And the skin that lines the cartilaginous portion of the ear canal, the outer third, is a lot thicker than the skin that lines the inner 2/3 of the ear canal. We call that the bony part of the ear, because that's just literally bone, skin on bone, whereas the cartilaginous portion, there's a bit of muscle there and a bit of cartilage. And so the skin that lines the outer third, the cartilaginous portion, is around 1 centimetre in thickness. Sorry, not 1 centimetre, 1 millimetre in thickness. And the skin that lines the inner 2/3 of the ear canal is 10 to 15 times thinner, so less than 0.1 millimetres in thickness. And I'll come back to that in a moment. So I've just put some drops in there, but I'm using a hook, a St. Bart's hook, just to get in and behind this dry wax and skin, just trying to leverage it forward, because it was a bit more adhered than the patient's right ear. So when we have skin on any other part of the body, as that skin dies and sheds, through mechanical friction, so when we shower or even when we put our clothes on, or just by the simple motion of scratching, this skin dies, that's dead, and it's on the surface, drops to the floor. Now, if our ears just collected dead skin that had died and just fell into the ear canal, everyone's ears would be full of dead skin. And I'll be very, very busy removing everyone's blocked ears on a regular basis. So the skin in the ear canal has evolved whereby as it dies and sheds, it moves sideways out of the ear naturally in a conveyor belt motion. So, for example, the skin on the eardrum, as that dies and sheds, it migrates outwards. The best way to describe that is if you have a puddle and you get a little pebble and you drop it in the centre of the puddle, and imagine the puddle being the eardrum, you'll have a ripple effect, and that's how the skin migrates off the eardrum in a ripple motion. Then that skin then slowly migrates out of the bony part of the ear towards the entrance and eventually makes its way out of the ear. That process, so that epithelial migration, it only migrates between 1.5 millimeters to 3 millimeters a month, and it's similar to the rate of the growth of our fingernail. It's very similar. So as that skin dies and migrates, any wax sitting on the surface of it is also naturally transported out of the ear. So the ear, for that reason, for the majority of us, is self-cleansing. However, for a small percentage of the population, between 5 and 8%, that skin, for whatever reason, it fails to migrate, and you get a buildup of wax. Other causes of earwax impactions, if you've got a narrow, bendy, twisty ear canal, or sometimes it can be self-inflicted, so you're pushing the wax further in with cotton buds, or even hearing aids is an example of whereby wax and dead skin can be impacted into the ear. So you can see I've just cleaned that left ear. I'm just going to mop up around the edge now. And this skin that lines the ear canal, it does have very important properties other than helping to transport wax naturally out of the ear. The skin is full of keratin, the outermost layer of the dead skin, the skin that lines the ear canal, which is just about to die, that's full of keratin. Keratin is a protein, and it's hydrophobic, so it helps to repel water out of the ear, and it helps protect the inner skin layers and the main body of the ear canal from harmful UV rays. So it has got an important function. So we're nearly done. It's just a bit of keratin just here at the entrance. Just going to hover over it. You've got to be careful with dead skin that it doesn't clarinet and emit a very loud high-frequency whistle. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys, and I hope you're all keeping well and safe. And do stay tuned. We've got loads of videos to come up. I've also got another YouTube channel under my other company name, Clearwax. The link is in the description, and that's where I upload videos taken with our newly developed wax scope, so please feel free to check them out. And finally, be nice and be kind to each other. Thank you, bye.